The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Off in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh, got my hustle on, no imitation of that. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throbbing my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too evil and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
First Take podcast. Recording this on Tuesday afternoon, just about afternoon, at 12:18 to be exact. 2025, of course. How you guys doing? It is once again another solo episode coming on your way. We had just recorded actually the first student report in all season long, actually, since the season ended. Started rather with Kyle. We just got that done. That should be on the feed any minute now. And now recording the usual Tuesday show here. Lots to get to on the show as I give, of course, my my week 7 observations in the NFL. It's been a wacky season. Of course, First Take, ESPN First Take has a new host, and I'll explain why I love the move. So, of course, you see today's title of the episode. I'm making a case of why Shohei Ohtani is indeed the greatest baseball player I have ever seen, probably of all time. Stephen A. Smith and yet another media feud, this time with a politician, Democratic Representative Jasmine Crockett. And, of course, the end of the WTF podcast with Marc Maron. I'll discuss my thoughts on that and, of course, my his impact on the podcasting genre. All right, but first, why don't you some gambling stories this weekend? You guys know I'm a novice gambler. I do bet on games. I love sports betting, but I don't go crazy. I'm very, very conservative. You know, I bet very small, and people make fun of that, but I don't give a shit. I keep telling them, listen, I don't have that kind of money to throw around like that. I got a wife and 2 kids. I can't be making $100 bets on games. You know, I'll bet small and you know, come in a little bit higher reward. I'll bet small. I made 2 wagers on Saturday. The first one hit. I did a 13-team parlay in college football. All money line. As I've been telling you guys recently that I stopped betting spreads for the most part. unless it's some simplified thing here, you know, I do. I've been doing money lines, and obviously when you do money lines, you have to juice it up to make the money worth your while. You got to find games in there that you can't just bet all the heavy favorites. You got to find games in there that are a little more of a toss up. So a couple of my toss ups I had in there, of course, and they all hit. So I bet $5 and I made $120 on my first one. Phenomenal, $120. There you go, boom, done. Then I did it again on Saturday night. I did it again. I did another 11-team parlay. Okay. And every game hit that night except for one. You're probably going to guess which one it is. The one game that did not hit on Saturday night was the one I felt the most confident about. And that was my Florida State Seminoles beating Stanford. They were, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the biggest, if not the second biggest favorite on my entire ticket. They were minus 1,000 to beat Stanford. Again, money line. I didn't bet them the spread because clearly they didn't cover the spread because they were 17.5-point favorites. But every game hit. All my sweats hit. Missouri beating Auburn. I had Missouri on a sweat, and they won in double overtime. Notre Dame against USC. I had Notre Dame. They won. So all my sweat games all hit. I was looking good. Another $5 bet to make $120. And this game did not hit. Florida State is in a nosedive right now. Okay, they've lost 4 in a row since the 3-0 start. I am done on Mike Norvell. I'm actually more upset. That I lost the opportunity to make more money than Florida State losing, and that's bad. So here's why I'm upset. That, number one. Number two, you guys know that was a West Coast game. That was the last game of the night. That game did not end until 2 o'clock in the morning. I had to work Sunday morning. I don't normally work Sunday mornings, but I've been working a lot of Sundays lately because money's on the table and I want to make some money. But I stayed awake that night Obviously, I'm a Knowles fan, so I want to watch my team play. But at the same time, I'm invested money wise now because if this game hits, I make $100 something, and maybe I don't go to work. Maybe because I decided to not go to work that day because I made money on the games, and these jokers cost me. So I'm upset about that. So again, gambling stories always fun to talk about. Sunday wasn't that great. I had another parlay on Sunday, almost hit that one, but I like a complete dumbass bet on the Jets to beat the Panthers, and that didn't hit. I would have made another like $80 something on that one, but it is what it is. Yeah. So that was my gambling story in a nutshell. Obviously, you'll hear, I'm sure on the pod on Wednesday when me and Zach discuss it on the EJ Degenerate episode, because we always have something to talk about with the gambling. I am crushing him though in the best bets though. I won again this week for the record. All right, let's get to my top 5 NFL Week 7 takeaways. This has been a fun year. There was no clear-cut favorites. You have a group. Even the groups you put it together as teams who are favorites, it's a big group to realize. There's a lot of teams right now that are making cases for themselves to be Super Bowl contenders. If you listen to the episode we did with Kyle earlier, you'll see we did a contender Super Bowl edition of that. There's a lot of teams in that. Number 1 takeaway from me. That Thursday game we saw, Steelers and Bengals, is exactly why the Ravens are still in this thing. It's exactly why the Ravens are going to be okay. Well, for now, anyway. Which is why you can't count them out. The 1-5, yes, but they're off the bye week now. Okay, their schedule gets lighter. They have not on top of my head, but they played a combination of the Dolphins, the Browns, the Bears, a bunch of easy-ish games to win. They should go no worse than 5-1 the next 6 games, honestly, if they were to get back in this thing. And if you do that, that puts them 500, and next thing you know, they're back in the race again. Okay, the Steelers, a good start, but at the same time, they have not looked like the Steelers just yet. Okay, that's a problem. That's why the Bengals, of course. Look, Joe Flacco had a phenomenal game, but the reason that game played the way it played out was because the Bengals offensive line for once actually showed up. I don't expect that to happen going forward because their line sucks. Okay, they are always more bad than good, so I don't expect that to happen anyway. So I don't see that playing out when it's all said and done. The Browns are the Browns. Come on, what are we doing? So the Ravens are still in this damn thing. Not only are they in it for the wild card, I still think the division is within reach. The only 2 back of the Steelers right now, or 3 back right now. But again, you got 2 games against the Steelers coming up, and if the Steelers are what they play right now, they will lose a couple more games before it's all said and done. Okay, number 2, and I'm surprised you guys are saying that when I'm saying this here. Despite their collapse against Denver on Sunday, I am still encouraged by the Giants. Obviously, I did not like what happened there. I would love to have seen that game go the other way. Things happened in that game, deflections and missed PATs and all this stuff and untimely picks by a pick by Jackson Dart. But what I've been telling you guys from the moment the season started, and even when Dart got his first start against the Chargers in week 4, the main thing is the main thing. The priority right now for the New York Giants is developing the quarterback. I don't care about anything else, okay? The wins will come when they come. Brian Daboll will have his job saved depending on how he gets this quarterback developed, because that is the reason he was hired in the first place, okay? He chose this groceries. He chose Jackson Dart. So far, through 4 weeks, I am sold. Okay, this guy has changed the culture. I know there was a lot of criticism I got from people when I said this, on text. What are you talking about? No. If you watch this team respond, it's night and day. If you watch the Giants' first 3 weeks and watch these last 4 weeks, it's night and day. Okay, you have wins over the Chargers, wins over the Eagles. Okay, you should be Denver Broncos on the road. Okay, so there's a lot of things to be encouraged about, and to boot, this Giants team is also playing banged up. Have you forgotten Malik Neighbors out for the year? Slayton didn't play the game. They are still banged up. They have key injuries there too. Well, it's on top of that. So I am still encouraged. The thing is, you don't want this to go off the rails either. Their schedule's still pretty tough. But again, in today's NFL, a tough schedule don't mean shit anymore because bad teams are being good teams week to week. Okay? So despite how bad that loss is, I'm still encouraged. All right? Number 3. Kyle Shanahan is my coach of the year right now. I don't care what it says. Kyle Shanahan is doing this. 5-2 Niners. No one's talking about it. He's in time first place with the Rams and the Seahawks. Both those teams are relatively healthy. I mean, obviously Rams have Mr. Puka Nakua this past week, but the Niners have been banged all year long. We haven't seen Rob Purdy since week 2? All right. The receiving corps is all just decimated. The best player in the team, arguably Fred Warner, out for the year. And yet they're finding ways to win a game. They beat a decent Falcons team, who just beat the Bills last week. The Niners will find ways to win games. Here's why. Kyle Shanahan. I got to think also, too, they might be regretting paying Rob Purdy that kind of money because they're getting the same results with Mac Jones, a quarterback right now, currently, as they have with Rob Purdy for cheaper. Just something to think about going forward, something to look at moving forward as we get through this season and beyond. All right? Number 4, Dak Prescott would be the MVP clubhouse leader if the Cowboys' wins-loss record was better. He is right now playing the best, maybe after Baker Mayfield, because he's actually winning more games. But after Baker Mayfield, probably in my opinion, Dak Prescott is playing that position better than anyone else right now in the NFL. And for once, he's actually carrying the team too. Because here's the thing. It is now required for the Cowboys to score 30 points a game because their defense is absolute trash. So Dak Prescott has to hit a barometer, has to hit a number every week just to have his team in the game. And he's, for the most part, doing it. They're right now 3-2-1. They've left 2 wins on the table. They should have beaten the Packers, and they probably should have beaten Carolina as well too. And I guarantee you, those are wins. The Cowboy, he's right now the clubhouse leader for MVP. Now, look, does this sustain going forward? You guys know about my bet with my buddy Mario, where I mean, $100. The Cowboys will win 9 games or more this year. It's on the fence right now. Look at the schedule. But Dak Prescott is the reason why this team even has life right now. Just saying. And finally, number 5. Yeah. All records aside, the Chiefs might be still the best team in the AFC. They are back. Okay? Now, some will say, well, they never left. Well, let's be real here. The first couple weeks of the year, it wasn't that they were losing games. It's the way they were losing. And the offense looked lifeless. Something happened. I don't know. But they're at full strength now. Rashee Rice is back. You saw 2 touchdowns already. Okay? Pat Mahomes might be MVP of the league right now. Might be. Short in the conversation. You know, obviously the Colts' record's better, but I trust the Chiefs more. You look at teams like the Patriots, I trust the Chiefs more. Buffalo Bills are still whatever, I trust the Chiefs more. The Chiefs might be the best team, not just the AFC, I'll fucking say it too, in the league. Because the team I consider the best team in the league up until last week, they beat them last week, the Detroit Lions. So yeah. And by the way, spoiler alert, the number 1 on my power rankings this week. Oh, what the hell? 4-3. Exactly. They're back. The boogeyman's back. So that's where I stand on that one in terms of my takeaways this week. Again, this has been a phenomenal year. Wide open, shocking in moments. It is what it is. So, all right. ESPN First Take has a new host now. And the new host replacing Molly Karam is Shea Cornett. She is scheduled to start in her role on Monday, November 3rd, alongside Stephen A. Smith. She was previously an anchor on SportsCenter. I love this move. Like, I don't watch First Take every week or every day anymore like I used to. But Shea Cornett is someone I've followed for the last year or two, and she filled in a lot for Molly in the weeks that she would be out or shows where she would be out. And I thought she's better than Molly Karam. I watched her, I think, during the summer or during last spring. I remember saying, I would take her over Molly in a week. They made the right choice here. Shea Cornett is fantastic at this. Okay, she doesn't get in the way of the. She flows with the conversation. Doesn't get in the way. She actually not to knock Molly here, but Molly doesn't. To me, in my opinion, does not add to the conversation in a way that Shea does or has done on the show when she's filled in. So I love this move for ESPN. Great job by them. A great hire. I am a fan of this. All right, Shohei Ohtani. Did you guys see the sweep, the game 4 against Milwaukee last Friday, where he pitched 10 strikeouts, but also had 3 home runs in the same game? I am not overreacting to this. I'm not. This is seen what I've seen for the last 5, 6, 7 years. How long he's been Major League Baseball now? And we can't use the idea, well, he has a great team around him. Yeah, that does help. But we were probably saying these things even before he came to LA. Shohei Ohtani is the greatest baseball player I have ever seen. And quite frankly, he might be the greatest player that ever played baseball. Okay? People want to say Babe Ruth, and people say this and that, and Barry Bonds, and dude, I am the biggest Barry Bonds mark on the planet. Okay, I love Barry Bonds. I am a massive Barry Bonds fan. So you talk to the right person when it comes to Barry Bonds. I am the biggest Barry Bonds truther. I don't give a fuck. He took steroids. I don't give a crap. Prior to Shohei, Barry Bonds to me was the greatest baseball player of all time. That's changed now. Shohei is the greatest I've ever seen. And of course, him pitching helps. I'm sorry. I don't care what kind of team plays on. You throw 10 strikeouts in a playoff game to go to the World Series, in that same game, you hit 3 home runs in a playoff game. That's insane. Okay? I try not to be hyperbolic about this kind of stuff. I try to get overreactionary, but sometimes it just is what it is. Okay? And yes, I get it. He has a great team around him. But my God, Shohei is just unbelievable. 10 strikeouts in a game. Okay, 3 home runs in the same game. That is ridiculous. Okay? I don't think we've seen it ever before, certainly on this level. So I'm there with Shohei. I'm there. I mean, I don't know what else you can say. Probably the most talented I've ever seen play baseball was Ricky Henderson. I'm a huge Ricky Henderson fan. To me, my 2 favorite baseball players of all time is Ricky Henderson and Barry Bonds. Okay, Ricky Henderson was a phenomenal hitter, also a phenomenal fielder, but also fast as hell, steal bases, can change games. When I used to play the MLB baseball game back in the day with my cousins, I would always use the Oakland A's not because of Canseco, not because of McGuire, because Ricky Henderson was fun. Dude was a baller. And even then, Shohei's the best. I watch him. He's must-see TV, especially now in this house. As someone I love baseball, but I'm not someone who has to watch it every day. But when the Dodgers play, especially too, and he's at bat, I always turn on the TV because he may do something you've never seen before. Or if he's playing the game, he may do something you've never seen before. And last Friday night was one of those moments. Again, 10 strikeouts and 3 home runs in the same game. That is insane. No one's been better, in my opinion. And again, I'm the biggest Barry Bonds mark on the planet, but it is what it is. Shohei's the guy. So, there you go. All right. Stephen A. Smith is in a new feud. And this time is with Jasmine Crockett. Of course, she is the U.S. representative of Texas for the Democratic Party. It's not really it's not a traditional debate, but rather a public disagreement over strategy and rhetoric, and which has now got a lot of attention in the media. So the core of the issue stems from Stephen A. Smith's comments about Representative Crockett's political approach, particularly about her vocal criticism of Donald Trump. So here is Stephen A.'s position on all of this. If I can find this. On this podcast, Smith criticized Crockett's rhetoric, suggesting that she was spending too much time attacking Donald Trump and not enough time focusing on legislative work that directly benefit her constituents. He questioned the productivity of the highly critical and sometimes incendiary public statements. That was written wrong, actually, by the way. Who wrote this? That was written wrong. How does Stephen A. Smith know what she is and isn't doing policy-wise? It's very possible that you can walk and chew gum at the same time, okay? I don't disagree that the criticism just of Trump over and over and over and over and over again with no substance is annoying. I agree, okay? But at the same time, you can't sit and say she's not doing any work when, okay, what is she not doing that makes you believe she's doing work? First off, Democrats have no seats. The Republicans have the House and the Senate and the White House. So she can only do so much at this point now. Okay? Sometimes all you have is the bluster to use. Okay? All right, Smith's quote, he said that I'm just going to go off on Trump, cuss him out every chance I work, and that's my day's work. That ain't work. Of course, Crockett's been outspoken and a fierce critic of Donald Trump, often during congressional hearings and in media appearances. Her supporters and many social media users view Smith's comments as tone policing a black woman who was standing up for herself and her political position. especially since Trump has publicly insulted her intelligence. Her public criticism of Trump has seen by her supporters as necessary defense of democracy in a way to hold power accountable. I don't disagree with that. Here's why. It'd be one thing if, like, the president was someone normal who wasn't bluster and rude and this and that. You can't sit there and criticize her, but don't criticize him for the way he talks, because he does the same fucking thing, and he's in even a higher seat than Representative Crockett. So, all due respect, be consistent here. If you're going to criticize Crockett for this shit, you better also criticize Donald Trump, who's actually in the higher seat. Here's some of the backlash he's gotten. Smith's remarks has led to significant criticism, particularly from black commentators and activists who accused him of disrespecting a powerful black woman and failing to understand the context of the political fight she's engaged in. I agree. Smith faces accusations of being counterproductive, disrespectful, and even misogynistic for singling out Crockett's methods. I disagree with that 100%. Why can't Stephen A. Smith just be critical of the person and call it like that? This is why I break from a lot of people on the left. Okay, why is it that if I criticize Jasmine Crockett, okay, that I am also all of a sudden being a misogynist or being this and that? Why can't it criticism be criticism? Why has to be embellished? Why can't I just not disagree with the way you're operating? Okay, I'm not saying I do, but for people to say, well, oh, that's misogyny. No, that's fucking lazy. Okay, that's not misogyny. I mean, it's not always misogyny, for the record. Okay, it's okay to be critical of people without having to go into the whole rabbit hole of like, oh, that's misogyny, that's racism. So what? We can't criticize anybody? Is that not allowed anymore? It's ridiculous. His response, he responded on the criticism, defending his comments by clarifying that he has nothing but respect for her, but simply disagrees on what she's making headlines for, believing it to be counterproductive for the ultimate goal of getting work done for the district. He also strongly rejected attempts by critics to cancel him or link his comments to misogyny. So the big issue here with Stephen A. is that, and this is what you're seeing a lot from people on the left or the center, because of this cultural shift we've seen, in the last couple of years, especially too, since COVID, but certainly since the past election. A lot of folks making decisions to cater their material more to a certain audience because that's where the energy is. I made that statement about Joe Rogan for many years. We call it audience capture. Well, like Stephen A. now being critical of people on the left now is making people on the right, happy, because they do listen to this material and they'll start listening to this material. So there is some call it a grift. I would call it more of a, it's audience capture. It's basically trying to make it appeal. I know Bill Maher gets accused of that, although I disagree with that to some degree because Bill Maher is still a lefty. He's a lefty on policy. I don't see a problem with being honest with who you are. Stephen A. Smith has never said he was liberal. In fact, if you know Stephen A. Smith, he's always said that he was a centrist down the middle. He has conservative views and as liberal views. I'm the same way too. I can relate to that. Now, I have probably a little more liberal views than Stephen A. does, I guess. I'm not in comparison to whatever. But I think that's healthy. But I will say, Steph Smith going into this lane now of politics. He has a political show now. He's on News Nation now. He's doing all these political things. There's rumors about him not wanting to, but also considering run for president in 2028. Who knows? Or beyond. I don't know, but I don't think it's right for people to criticize him just because of the fact that he's critical of someone, and all of a sudden, oh well, he's a misogynist now. He's making fun of women. So what? We can't make fun of women anymore. We can't criticize women anymore. Like, stop. That's ridiculous. You know what I mean? So it's really a one-sided thing here, though, because at this point, from what I understand, Jasmine Crockett has not responded at all. So until she responds to anything, there's nothing to talk about here. This is just him reacting to Jasmine Crockett, her supporters reacting to his criticism of Jasmine Crockett, and that's where it is. She has not said anything yet publicly about anything regarding the situation, If she does, obviously, we'll talk about it in the show in the weeks to come. But yeah, look, debate's healthy. It's okay to be critical, but don't over the top. In Steve A's case, though, don't be criticizing her, but not criticizing the president of the United States when he engages in the same fucking behavior as you accuse her of doing as well, too. And if not worse. Okay? Anyway, one last thing to get out of here. The end of the WWF pod with Marc Maron has finally come. Marc Maron and his longtime producer, Brandon McDonald, decided to end the WTF podcast mainly because they felt tired and burnt out after doing the show twice a week for 16 years. Really? Twice a week? Bro, I do right now. And by the way, I'm not rich. I have a regular job and I have a wife and kids and I have other priorities and stuff. I do this podcast minimum 5 times a week. Minimum. Okay? You guys see now on the feed. I am doing shows, Monday through Friday at least. I strive to have some sort of content from Monday through Friday, and sometimes you get on the weekends. And some days you'll get you'll get 2 episodes a day. Like today, for example. So that to me, burnt out in 2 shows a week and burnt out, get the fuck out of here. All right, Maron stated there was no dramatic reason, but rather he was utterly satisfied with the work they had done, and it was simply time. He also expressed a desire to avoid the podcast becoming just another random show or feeding the garbage bin of content, aiming to preserve the integrity of their work. He also mentioned that they had a long-standing agreement that they would stop the show if either of them was ready to, and that time had come for both. Maron also looks forward to having time for stand-up, acting, and generally enjoying life a bit more. Okay, I get that. If you're bored doing it, I get it. I mean, his show was basically an interview show, a conversational show. Not quite Rogan. I guess it's like Rogan, but a little more targeted towards like actors and comedians. Rogan has a little more open-minded, more open space in that way. I remember WTF being one of these shows when I first got into this medium back in 2011. People say, well, okay, podcasts. What is podcast? Okay, what are the big podcasts of what different genres? And you hear, like back in the day, the BS Report. You hear, all these shows back in the day. And WTF was one of those shows. It was one of those go-to shows back in the day that everybody will say, check us out. He's having conversations with good people, the good actors, and people of interest and whatnot. Now, this show has definitely lost its importance. And I think a lot of it has to do more with the fact that the market is kind of oversaturated with podcasts. And Marc Maron, he's a well-known name, but he's not very well-known in a way where, like, he's like Rogan at this point now. He's not well-known across the board. Like, he's known, but not well. Like, he's not like, I don't know if I put him like as a A-tier celebrity at this point. You know what I'm saying? But he did have Barack Obama on the show twice. He had Obama on the show back in 2000, I think it was 13, whatever it was, or even before that, and he had Obama on his last episode. So the impact there. Look, if you want to quit, you quit. You do got to do, and obviously, if we want to put more time into like your acting and everything else, I'm okay with that, obviously, man. But I don't know how you get burnt out doing 2 shows a week. Look, I get burned out doing something that's 5, 6, 7 a week. But what I do is I modify my schedule, and what I've done now recently too is I made my schedule work in a way where I record episodes. You don't know the schedule, know this because the way it's done, but a lot of the shows I do, I pre-record it. Like EJ Loves the Internet. That's recorded 4 days before I put it out. Okay, you know what I mean? EJ was Degenerate. I will record that tonight. So a lot of my shows are being done. Half the shows I do a week are done on Tuesday. Okay, so like I record a Tuesday show, 2 episodes there. This show here, of course, comes out, and then I record the Wednesday episode with Zach on Tuesday as well too. That's filled in, and I record my show for Friday, the Friday show on Thursdays. You know what I mean? That way I get 4 days off. I don't do content. I don't record any content between Friday and Monday. I try not to. You know what I mean? So the schedule works for me when I'm not getting burnt out. Yeah, it seems like a lot of shows I'm doing, but I do it in a certain space and it works out for me. That's why I love this medium. You can create whatever you want, how you want to do it. It's like radio. And I'm a radio guy. I love radio. I think we see Maron back in the podcast form at some point? Honestly, I think we do. I think this medium is so addicting. I think he might do some different though. I can see him going back to more the Bull Burr route, where like he does like a solo episodes here and comedy. I know the podcast has always a nice crutch to have, Kyle said in the show earlier today when we recorded on the episode a while ago, this is like a therapy session. It really is. Like, people say, well, how's your sports podcast going? Well, we talk sports on here, but I don't ever consider Earnestly Speaking a sports podcast anymore. Like, okay, sure. Sports is part of the things I talk about the most on here because that's one of the things I like discussing the most. But as you guys know, with this show, and we've done the show 14 years, and it's evolved a lot, we talk wrestling, we talk music, we talk so many things I'm into. And we also just have cool conversation, with my friends, with people in the media. It's about having a nice community of things to present to you guys to enjoy. Everything here there's no bullshit here, bro. Everything you see here on this show is what it is. I try and I always strive to be as authentic as I can. And I hope I'm doing that for you guys. I'm not the biggest podcast, obviously not the biggest podcast in the world. I'm not the biggest podcast in my own region, for not allowed. But I do know I love doing this. This is like therapy for me. I love this. And I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. That's why I was like, when I saw that, I was like, 2 weeks, burn out after 2 weeks. This was a week. Like, all you're doing, and the thing is that their show is mostly just conversations. Like, there's more work. To me, there's more work in doing shows like this one, for example, this episode today, where I have to do research, find things to talk about, do research, develop an opinion on that too, also based on things I'm researching. To me, it's more work than that. Conversations are nothing. All I have to do is I find a guest. Okay, boom, boom. We'll talk about this, boom. And we just have a conversation. It's like we're going having a conversation at work, or in a car, or, you know what I mean? At a dinner. It's all different. That's why podcasting is so great. You know what I mean? So, but kudos to Marc Maron for, a job well done. I mean, again, one of the godfathers of this medium. So, but anyway, that's for me for the Tuesday show, of course. I am on X at EJ Christian 7. Earnestly Podcast, of course, all podcast catchers. On YouTube, of course, the YouTube page and video of the show, of course, at Earnestly Pod. And clips of the show at TikTok at Earnestly Pod as well, too. Instagram as well at Earnestly Pod, same medium as well. Until the next episode, we'll talk to you guys soon. Love you guys. Take care and see ya.